Well, our lead story tonight is what NDTV has been tracking, and that, of course, is the international and India implications of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Will Russia declare war against Ukraine, and what will be the reaction of the world? For more, Vishnu has the latest details. Vishnu.
Thanks very much, Sonia. Well, who in Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right is what the US president had to say. Strong words indeed from Joe Biden as he imposed sanctions on Russia. What sanctions, you ask? Well, the raft of new sanctions against Russia is meant to cut off its government from Western financing and punish elites who benefit from the Kremlin's corrupt policies. That's what America says. The latest package will issue sanctions on two major Russian banks and on the country's sovereign debt, meaning that it can no longer raise money from the West and trade new debt on American or European markets. Biden also announced new US deployments to Europe, to the three Baltic NATO states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Joe Biden says these are completely defensive moves, and he specifies that the US has no intention of fighting Russia, but that he did want to send an unmistakable message. Russia, for its part, has said that it wants to ensure its safety. So they've had their strategic nuclear forces exercises, which took place. Putin himself oversaw them, and then Washington also accused Russian troops of massing near Ukraine's border, of advancing and being poised to strike. Now, the latest news is that Ukraine has told its citizens to leave Russia. They've imposed a state of emergency. Russia has started evacuating its diplomatic staff from the Ukraine. So what exactly is Donetsk and the two breakaway republics that Putin says are now independent? Because that is really key to this entire crisis. Well, let's take a look at this particular area. The area in eastern Ukraine, that's the one over there, is called Donbass. Now, the area includes the cities of Donetsk and Luhansk. These have been controlled by Russia-backed insurgents since 2014. The area that you can now see on top is an area claimed by insurgents, but it is not still controlled by Ukraine. And the line of control here is called the line of contact. So the big question is this: will Russia now push beyond this line of contact and try and control all of Donbass, which is about 30 to 35% of Ukraine itself? Well, the big question the entire world wants to know: why is Vladimir Putin doing this in the first place? Now, there are a few explanations on why Russia considers this absolutely important. Some suggest that by doing this, Russia is once again trying to create the monolith that the USSR once was. Well, Ukraine borders both Russia and the European Union. Now, Moscow doesn't want NATO at its borders. There's a large population of ethnic Russians in Ukraine. There are exceptionally close social and cultural relations. Putin has made it clear that the existence of Ukraine was directly linked to its past with Russia and the USSR. Fairly controversial remarks. Russia is deeply worried about Ukraine joining NATO, the military alliance it believes poses an existential crisis to it. Russia wants a package deal from Western powers to address its security concerns. Clearly, that's not happened. No one knows if it will. And finally, the US has made it clear there is no question of putting a bar on Ukraine wanting to join Ukraine wanting to join NATO itself. So the immediate impact of Russia's move is to grant what it says is independence to the two breakaway republics. That impact has been felt in markets around the world. The impact today different from what we saw yesterday. The market impact today, Indian indices were actually trading in the green, surprisingly. However, the stocks of Indian companies with exposure to Europe brace for impact on their businesses. For example, Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, they have a significant presence in the Russian market, as do oil and gas and tea companies as well. Speaking about oil prices have stabilized after hitting a 7-year high in the last session, as it became clear that the first wave of American and European sanctions on Russia would disrupt oil supplies. Well, there have been several reactions which have been coming in, but let's take a look firstly at what the India situation is. After the advisory by the Indian government to leave Ukraine, because it was perhaps not essential in the large number of cases, several Indian citizens have started to come back. But many Indian students say they can't because an online education in many institutions has not been permitted.
Finally back home. Students, tourists and businessmen cheering, clapping and showing the victory sign as the Air India Boeing 787 plane touched down on Indian soil. It's the first of 3 special flights being operated by Air India at a 60,000 rupees fare for economy and over 1 lakh for business. Other airlines include Fly Dubai, Qatar Airways, Emirates Airlines and Turkish Airlines.
I'm extremely grateful for this evacuation process that has been started for the students, and I would really like to thank the Indian government and Air India.
मेरी जो टिकट थी वो गवर्नमेंट के थ्रू नहीं थी, मैं खुद ही, क्योंकि पैनिकेबल सिचुएशन बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया था, 1-1 लाख की हो जा रही टिकट।
आम दिनों में जब जाती थी आप, टिकट कितने का पड़ता था, अभी कितने का?
32 तक का आ जाता था 1000।
और
अभी अपन 49 तक में आए हैं, 49,000।
और जो फ्रेंड्स बता रहे हैं
लाख 70,000 80 ऐसे में आ रही है।
कि आप गुड़गांव से?
मैं गुड़गांव से आया हूँ। ये मेरा बेटा है, मैंने फूलमाला से मेरे बेटे का स्वागत किया है।
Ratan Singh, a social worker from Gurugram, was waiting for his son at the airport with a garland to welcome him. Approximately 20,000 Indian students are in Ukraine for their medical courses, which is cheaper than private courses in India. Though he is glad his son is home safe, it's been difficult to arrange the money for his return.
भारत सरकार से तो यही है कि मौका का नाजायज फायदा ना उठाया जाए। किसी के पास पैसे ना हो तो इसका मतलब उसकी तो मजबूरी है पैसा कर्जा ना चढ़े। किसी पहले एजुकेशन महंगी है, और अगर इंडिया में एजुकेशन होती तो विदेश में क्यों जाते। इसकी किसी ने कल्पना भी नहीं की थी बीच में ये 2 लाख 1.5 लाख रुपया एक्स्ट्रा देना पड़ जाएगा। हर जगह स्टूडेंट कंसेशन होता है। भारत सरकार ने भी चाहिए था, दुख के टाइम में ये कष्टदायी टाइम था बच्चों के लिए, तो उसको रियायत देनी चाहिए थी।
This video of soldiers marching in the streets is from Ivano-Frankivsk city in Ukraine by a 19-year-old MBBS student, Rashid Khan. His mother, Saira Rashid, a homemaker, is anxiously watching the latest news in her home in Hapur in Uttar Pradesh and appeals to the government to lower the airfare so her son can return safely.
किराया बढ़ा रखा है ये 60-70 हज़ार, वो बच्चे किस तरह से देंगे? तो वो इस किराए को कम करें, बस हमारी यही सरकार से रिक्वेस्ट है, और उनके आने का इंतजाम करें।
As tensions between Russia and Ukraine is rising at an alarming rate, the government of India has also cleared its priority, which remains the safe return of all the Indians from Ukraine. With Parimal Kumar and Mohammad Andan in Hapur, I'm Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
And India is still waiting and watching and monitoring the situation. There's been no fresh statement except of India asking for dialogue and restraint on both sides. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi has brought up the Ukraine crisis in the Uttar Pradesh campaign.
इस समय दुनिया में कितनी उथल-पुथल मची हुई है। जब चारों तरफ उथल-पुथल मची हो, चारों तरफ कल क्या होगा, परसों क्या होगा। जब टफ टाइम होता है, तो टफ लीडर होना भी जरूरी होता है।
But let's go over to the other breaking story tonight, and this is really the centre versus the Maharashtra government once again, as the Enforcement Directorate has arrested a key Maharashtra minister, Nawab Malik, who's a state cabinet minister. Sohit and Arvind are joining me for more on that. But let's just go across Sohit and Arvind to just what the highlights of today. So we saw Nawab Malik there, defiant. You can see him doing actually the victory sign as he's being brought out, arrested from that Enforcement Directorate office. He waves his fist in the air. The Chief Minister, Sharad Pawar, the Deputy Chief Minister, senior ministers are all currently meeting at Uddhav Thackeray's house for their response. Mamata Banerjee has called Sharad Pawar to express her support. Remember, Nawab Malik is a key NCP minister considered very close to Sharad Pawar. Also, this is the second NCP minister arrested in the last 4 months. Let's go across more to Sohit and Arvind. Sohit, firstly, the case against Nawab Malik, the charges of links, money links with the Dawood Ibrahim gang. What is the political impact of this? Because really all the pressure is being done on Sharad Pawar, and is he considered the link who could possibly bring down or is responsible for the stability of the Maharashtra government?
Well, that's right, Sonia. In fact, last time when the government was also formed, we saw how Ajit Pawar and Devendra Fadnavis took oath in the morning, but despite that the MVA government came into power, and that was because of Sharad Pawar, and that is the reason we will see that earlier it was Anil Deshmukh, and now it is Nawab Malik who has been arrested by the ED. As we speak, as of now, a meeting happened just now between Uddhav Thackeray, Sharad Pawar, Ajit Pawar, as well as senior leaders of the Maha Government government. They have still decided that they are together. They will be fighting against this tomorrow at 10 a.m. This is what they are saying right now. Chhagan Bhujbal is saying that the MLAs will be protesting against this right outside Mantralaya. Apart from that, he also said that in the last 30 years, no one took name of Nawab Malik related to Mumbai blast, but now he is speaking against the union government, and hence to shut his mouth, he was arrested, and this is very unfortunate. And he has also said that Nawab Malik's resignation will not be taken. So as of now, all the three parties are still standing together, and they are opposing this. If you remember, even last week, Sanjay Rao did a press conference, and in that he said that how he was himself being pressurized by the central agencies to step away from the government. And even Chandrakant Patil, who is the BJP state president, had earlier said that by 10th of March, BJP will come into power in Maharashtra.
So really, I want to bring in Arvind on that point you made. So I want to bring in Arvind, because Arvind, really the timing of this case, the fact that it's linked to the Mumbai blast and Dawood Ibrahim, how has the ED suddenly found proof of this against Nawab Malik? And also the point being made that how is it that it's only NCP ministers who are being arrested? And earlier, before the Maharashtra elections, you had Praful Patel being examined, and then suddenly the case disappears. So how is the ED answering the charges of political bias?
Yeah, Sonia, that's a very intriguing question. In fact, if you could look at the facts of this particular case, the Enforcement Directorate, taking cognizance of NIA's FIR, has initiated an money laundering probe into this particular case. So what we are being told is that the Enforcement Directorate, during its course of investigation and also searches it conducted at the premises of various other accused related to this particular case, they got evidence showing alleged land deals between Nawab Malik and also with the other accused in this particular case, that is the known associates of Dawood Ibrahim. So what we are being told is that after brief questioning of Nawab Malik, the agency took him for further questioning at its office, and during the questioning, according to the Enforcement Directorate officials, he did not cooperate with the investigation, and that's why the agency has arrested him. So when he was produced before the court, the agency had claimed that this particular land, that land deal that has been under question, what they are claiming is that Nawab Malik has purchased this particular land for a mere 55 lakh rupees, and that's why the agency is looking into the proceeds of crime. But very importantly, the counsel of Nawab Malik has questioned this very particular land deal, because according to his counsel, this very land deal took place somewhere in 1999, but whereas the PMLA Act itself came only in 2005, so therefore the criminal law cannot be applied retrospectively. So the crucial court hearing is underway.
Which has got a cabinet minister of the Maharashtra government arrested at this point. So Sharad Pawar, also speaking today, said how is it that it's only that centre and the ED only finds Muslim workers to link with Dawood every time, the BJP hitting back.
कशाची केस फायली केली आता एक साधी गोष्ट आहे काही झालं आणि विशेषतः कुणी मुस्लिम कार्यकर्ता असतात ते दाऊदचं नाव घ्या लोकांना बदनाम करणं त्रास देणं सत्तेचा गैरवापर करणं आणि त्याचं मुख्य कारण की जे लोक भूमिका स्वच्छ करणारे मानतात केंद्र सरकारच्या विरुद्ध किंवा या विशेषतः या यंत्रणा जैसा गैरवापर केला जातो त्या एजन्सीच्या संबंधी जे बोलतात त्यांना हा त्रास देण्याचा प्रयत्न आहे.
महाराष्ट्र की राजनीति में राजनीति का अपराधीकरण और अपराधीकरण में से पैसा बनाना, ये राष्ट्रवादी कांग्रेस का बरसों से इतिहास रहा है और इसी इतिहास को नवाब मलिक ने आगे बढ़ाया, जिसके कारण ईडी ने आज सवेरे उनको डिटेन किया और अब उनको अरेस्ट किया गया है. निश्चित मामला गंभीर है और महाराष्ट्र की सरकार में ऐसे मंत्री को बने रहने का कोई अधिकार नहीं है.
Well, the other big headline, the whole of last week, we saw that not just students but teachers wearing the hijab were denied entry to schools and colleges. Today, the Karnataka Chief Justice said this was wrong, saying that the court's interim order, which said that there should be no religious symbols in the classrooms, was applicable only for students, meaning that teachers could actually wear the hijab, and the colleges are completely wrong by forcing teachers to remove the hijab outside their colleges. This after an advocate for the petitioners, the girls who are wearing hijab, raised this in the High Court today. Meanwhile, today there were also huge protests by right-wing activists protesting against the murder of Harsha, a young man who was with the Bajrang Dal. These protests asking for the state administration. I remember the pressure being felt now by the BJP state government as well by these right-wing groups on why more action is not being taken against the murder of Harsha. Well, let's go to our other big story, and halfway through, that's Uttar Pradesh, India's biggest state elections. The turnout up to 5 o'clock was nearly 58%. So there you can see Uttar Pradesh's biggest leaders there. Also voting today was the Lucknow constituency, the heart of UP. That's where the battle is. But what was really key was BSP leader Mayawati's remarks on Home Minister Amit Shah, with the opposition alleging that this shows a closeness between the BJP and the BSP.
The highlight of the phase, a statement reportedly by the Home Minister Amit Shah that the BSP is performing well in the polls and Muslims too will support them. The statement ending a notion in these elections that this was a SP versus BJP fight.
मैं समझती हूँ कि ये उनकी महानता है कि उन्होंने सच्चाई को स्वीकार किया है.
The BSP's National General Secretary SC Mishra told NDTV that he was always confident of his performance.
आपने एक बयान देखा होगा भारतीय जनता पार्टी के एक बड़े नेता हैं जिनका ये कहना है कि बीएसपी ठीक परफॉर्म करेगी. इसके मायने भी बहुत निकाले जा रहे हैं कि ये क्या बीजेपी बीएसपी का कुछ अलायंस है जिसके तहत बीजेपी के लोग अब आपकी पैरवी कर रहे हैं.
नहीं देखिए, आप अमित शाह के बयान की बात कर रहे हैं. उन्होंने इंटरव्यू में कहा और किसी चीज़ में कहा, हम लोगों ने भी पढ़ा देखा. तो ये तो देखिए एक्चुअली क्या है कि हकीकत है जिसका कि उन्होंने बयान कर दिया.
Mishra is the number 2 in the BSP and a tall Brahmin leader, credited with the 2007 Brahmin Dalit social engineering that got Mayawati to power. He feels the Brahmin factor in the polls, 12% of UP's population, will play an important factor from here on. Yogi's tall Brahmin cabinet minister and a former aide of Mayawati, Brajesh Pathak, feels this is the BSP's wishful thinking.
आप ब्राह्मण समाज से ताल्लुक रखते हैं. आपकी जो पिछली पार्टी है उनका ये कहना है कि जैसे 2007 में हमने रिझाया था वैसे ही हम 2022 में भी ब्राह्मण हमारे साथ होगा.
वर्तमान समय में 100% ब्राह्मण समाज भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ है.
Meanwhile, the election campaigning for the subsequent phases continued. Akhilesh continuing to mount his attack on Chief Minister Yogi.
10 तारीख को परिणाम आना है, बाकी है, लेकिन हमारे बाबा मुख्यमंत्री ने लखनऊ से गोरखपुर की एरोप्लेन की टिकट 11 तारीख की बुक कर रखी है.
महोत्सव करते थे, सिपाही महोत्सव. न राग, न रंग, न भाव, न भाषा. आयोजकों को पता ही नहीं लगता था क्या हो रहा है. आज जब हमें अवसर मिलता है महोत्सव का, तो भाइयों बहनों दीपोत्सव होता है.
With the fourth phase done, a total of 231 seats have polled for the 403-member Vidhan Sabha. The battle now shifts eastwards, with strong BJP citadels like Ayodhya, Varanasi and Gorakhpur on test. With Osama Shah and Sachin Gupta, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Omicron is a silent killer. I'm still suffering, said the Chief Justice of India, Justice Ramana, today, hearing a case on resuming physical hearings in the Supreme Court. Justice Ramana said, I suffered in the first wave but recovered in 4 days. But in this wave, it's been 25 days and I'm still suffering. The advocate arguing the case, Vikas Singh, said, your lordship has been unlucky, but people are recovering. Well, the other big story, one of India's best union territories, according to its residents, Chandigarh was powerless for 36 hours. Traffic lights, water supply, hospitals, schools were all hit, and of course homes. So no power for 36 hours in Chandigarh. That's almost heard of because state power employees had gone on strike against privatization. That strike ended this evening, but power is still being restored. Well, an NDTV exclusive with this young champ, India's newest chess star who beat the world #1 Magnus Carlsen, speaks to Sam Daniel.
The man of the moment, Grandmaster Pragnananda, who won against world champion Magnus Carlsen. Thank you very much for your time and congratulations. Has it sunk in your mind what you have achieved?
Yeah, it definitely feels good that I managed to beat the world champion. But yeah, I could have played better in that game, but still it's a win nevertheless. And yeah, I just want to continue my form.
You played black that particular day, which is generally seen to be a kind of a disadvantage. And what ran in your mind when you realized that you won the world champion?
I was surprised at first because I didn't expect to win. And when I was playing the game, I didn't really think about the result. I just wanted to focus on my moves and play my game.
What kind of hard work went behind this?
Yeah, definitely a lot of hard work, and even for the sleep schedule I had to change because the games were taking place in the early morning. So I even changed my sleep schedule for this tournament, and yeah, I'm happy that I managed to, it really worked out.
He beat the world #1 and says he could have done better. Well, as we end today, let's leave you with these pictures of a weekend full of smiles, love and laughter. The picture perfect Farhan-Shibani wedding.